Living in the 904, Jacksonville's hometown real estate show. We've been doing these videos every Wednesday on our Facebook page on Living in the 904, so be sure to check us out, like our page, share our page. If you're looking to buy a home, sell a home, refinance, you have questions, you can reach out to us on social media, or you can give us a call. So let's get to it, guys. Daniel, who's with us today?
Yeah, so first, we're going to talk with Jason Kelloway. I think it's Kelloway. Jason, with Social Grounds. And I've been a big fan of Social Grounds for a long time. I think the first time that we met, Jason, is when I had we were doing a broker open house in Springfield for some new homes we were selling there. And you guys came out and did coffee for us there. We wanted to team up with a local place in the neighborhood where we were doing the broker open house. And then also you guys have delicious coffee. I love your coffee. And also doing a lot of stuff in the community. So very interesting stuff that we wanted to get in with you guys. So first, can you tell us what brought you to Jacksonville, or did you grow up in Jacksonville? Tell us a little bit about your Jacksonville story.
Yeah, so I appreciate you guys having me on the show and supporting what we're doing. I grew up here in Atlantic Beach. I've been here my whole life. Went to school at Atlantic Beach Elementary, Mayport Middle. Actually, there was a 6th grade center, which is no longer, where middle school, between elementary and middle school, was cut off. So I think we were one of the last years to have a specific 6th grade center. It was in Jacks Beach. And then I'm a beach rat, so I went to Fletcher and played sports there. Yeah, so I've been here my whole life. I've left once, obviously, when I joined the Marine Corps. I left to go serve our great nation and country. And so, yeah, I left for that and came back, obviously. Nice. And I've been here ever since.
Yeah, and I know actually that your coffee shop and the mission of your coffee shop is tied in with the military. Can you tell us how did the idea come up for starting a coffee shop? Why coffee? And also how does it tie in with how you support the military?
Yeah, so coffee wasn't a predominant thing on my radar until I was doing missions work in Mozambique in Africa, and came back from that work and felt like I was supposed to do something here in our city. A lot of people are like, oh, it's great you do things for other people in other nations, but what about our own city? And not that was a determining factor of what I would do, but I served our country. I believe in the United States of America and what we're doing, and specifically where you're from, to invest back into that. And so, the idea was I myself was homeless. Came out of homelessness for about 1.5 years as a vet who struggled and trying to get on my feet and lived in my vehicle, and came out of the heart of giving back from a place that I'd already been. And so I saw what coffee would do. And so we started a ministry. I know we'll get into that later, but we saw the impact of connecting lives and changing lives, and felt like I wanted to continue that, to monetize that side of it as a business arm, to be able to give back more, to help create an environment that people love to be in. And so we didn't want to be a handout. We wanted to be obviously legit specialty coffee shop who did a good job, a great job with the coffee, and then took that and made an impact in our community through it. And so coffee was one of those things where it just kind of evolved. Obviously personally you love it, and then you move into the craft of it, all of the nuances, and then you see the impact of relationship that happens out of it. And it was just like, man, like this is just what we're supposed to do. So that's kind of where the journey started. And I didn't have a lot of experience in coffee. And I had to learn. And thankfully, people had come through, and I met people that kind of helped them. To be honest with you, we jumped into this with very little training. And now from a paper standpoint, obviously, like experience is a lot. So we're over 5 years in, and experience counts a lot, but education is huge. And so we've been able to connect, at least me personally, connect with professionals from all over this country and all over the world to get some of the highest level training. So Specialty Coffee Association is the highest level of training that's out there, and it's world renowned. They do expos every year. And so I had the ability through another guy that came through to get professional training in roasting and barista, and to be able to educate myself. And you wouldn't think it, but there's a lot of science that goes into coffee to produce that cup of coffee at a high level.
Right.
Hey, Jason, Mo here. Hey, nice to
Hey, Mo.
meet you. I
Nice
am
to
a
meet
true
you.
coffee fan as well. Thank you for your
Good.
service, all that you're doing. I feel like I missed my calling about 20 years ago down south. I used to love the Gloria Jean coffee shop, but
Yeah.
didn't realize it big startup costs to get that going. But
Yeah.
definitely wanted to ask you, as far as what got you going in the Springfield area. I know it's kind of hot right now. Is that kind of leading into it?
Yeah, honestly, my family and I, we moved from the north side to here because of the ministry, because of being closer to what we call our downtown neighbors, which is the less fortunate and homeless of our city. So we felt called to come to be closer. And my wife had a dream to be in this area for a long time. Her family from way back has roots. And so it was more of God leading us to be closer. And then in the interim of that, we fell in love with the area. And honestly, on a Saturday morning, I didn't know where we wanted to put it. I was kind of roasting and crafting and selling to friends and family. And I woke up one morning and felt this real urge, like, hey, this is it. And so we started to look, and honestly, Hyperion, besides Uptown Kitchen, Hyperion was the only one that had started just before us. And so this was just kind of a leading in this area. And so when we jumped in, I didn't have an idea of where this was moving to, in that we would be in this area. But because of things that you look at on paper, the cost to start a company, especially per square foot for commercial real estate, it has a lot to do with that. In this area, gave and no one was here. The what's the word I'm looking for? Advice that I was given was find a community to surround yourself by, because which I think is true to a certain extent, but I think you got to get out beyond that as well. And so this community we fell in love with. Obviously, we still live here. And so, yeah, Springfield, we was just kind of the byproduct of being led here because of our ministry. And then it was like, yes, I think we should start something here.
Yeah, and it's cool. Everything that's everybody that's followed as well. All the new little shops and stuff that are coming to Springfield. But yeah, tell us some more about the Cup of Love ministry. You started the coffee shop, but very intentional about what you wanted to do through it. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
Yeah, so Cup of Love ministry was started with, obviously, in the time that I told you that I had no place to live. I was living in my vehicle, and it had been very cold, and a friend of mine was like, hey, my heater didn't work in my car, and he was like, hey, come just stay on the couch, get cold though. And I was watching the news, and they were talking about our homeless population in town and what happens during the cold period, and that shelters open if it's below 40 degrees. And so I just was like praying for the people. I just felt burdened and praying for the people, and I just felt this drop in my heart that this promise that and it was like, I will turn a cup of coffee into an ocean of love. And that was what dropped in my heart. And I called. So Mandy, my wife now, was a friend at that time. So I called and chatted with her, and she was like, you got to go do it. And so I went out with a little bit of money I had and bought a Gatorade cooler and some, cups and stirs. And I used the coffee machine that was there. I woke up at 4 a.m., began to brew one pot of coffee at a time, and just praying that God would use it. And so I finished up close to 7, jumped in the car, no heater, hot coffee in the back, freezing to death, into downtown, and just like, hey, where should I go? And I ended up on a street corner on Union and Broad, and got out, set up, And I mean, the first day, I think it was 80 people stopping by, and we were right kind of in the trek of where everyone walks through to go to Clara White and go back to some of the other services that are downtown. And we just saw the impact. And one thing that hit me dramatically was one experience I had with a man named Don. And Don said that he had shook and shivered all night, that he didn't get the chance to get into a shelter, and how much that cup meant to him. It warmed him physically, but also that someone would come out and be there in that time. And so it really affected him, and more than anything affected me. And I went back and Mandy about it. She couldn't come, she had to work, and so she was blow drying my hands. Her and mom on a salon in San Marco Strands across from BB's, and she was I had given my beanie away, my gloves, everything I had away to folks that were living out there. And so she was like, they kept asking, will you come back? And so it didn't start out as a ministry. It started out as just obedience to do what I was supposed to do. And from there, now January coming up will be 7 years that we've been extending this out. Our holiday outreaches are ginormous. I mean, 40 churches from around the city. The last Saturday of the month, we've been every Wednesday. We started just on Wednesdays just to be faithful. And then we launched, I think, a year later into the last Saturday of the month. And so now our holidays, Saturdays are huge, and the holidays are for clothing and things of that nature.
Yeah, I brought my daughter out there one time. I think it was Christmas, and there were so many people out there, and it was really cool and great experience to give back. But what I appreciate about you guys is the consistency. I mean, it's one thing to go out and do something, but 7 years every week to be keeping that up. And that was a big reason why I wanted the opportunity to highlight you guys. And when we get back on the radio, also have you on the radio show. But just that you guys make great coffee, just enjoy, period. And then on top of that you're supporting something that's making such a big impact in the community. So appreciate that.
Yeah, absolutely. And just to add in the thought premise, obviously with Social Grounds, our social aspect, I mean, we're a freedom partner for Rethreaded. So we create a coffee for them that they use to employ ladies that are coming out of human trafficking. A great relationship. We feed them during the holidays. We cook personally, and a lot of them are like sisters to me. Wounded Warrior Project, where we carry forward runs. We donate to thousands of runners to support that cause. Vets on Tap, Cup of Love Ministry. So everything we do is a means to give back. And so it evolved from the premise of homelessness to my personal story with a veteran. I'm a veteran, and I was going through a tough time transitioning. So our mission at Social Grounds is to empower and employ transitioning veterans using coffee. And so, so we've got a new project coming up. We've hired 3 so far since we've been open to help them transition and move on and to some better things.
Nice. Can you tell us a little bit more about some of the upcoming projects that you guys have?
Yeah, so the first one is a new website. Being a small business owner and trying to do everything is so difficult with resources and technology, and trying to navigate social media, websites, even online selling. Gosh, when someone cracks that code, it's a big deal to figure out how to get some residual monthly subscriptions coming in. And so I've had 2 websites prior to the one we're working on, and they didn't adequately show the veteran cause aspect of what we're doing. But when you see the new one launching in a few weeks, you'll see how we're talking more about the impact and the mission of what we're doing. And so we're going to run a campaign, and there are 150,000 veterans just in Jacksonville. That doesn't count active military families, or any of that. And so my goal is to launch this website and ask 1,000 people just to buy a bag of coffee, of great coffee. I'm not asking for a handout for someone to say, hey, yeah, coffee's okay. You know what I mean? I'll buy it. Or, hey, whatever the case may be. But so we're asking for 1,000 people, which would help us move into our new facility, which we're doing anyways. So if you know anything about me, once I'm in, I'm in. And so I believe that the resources will come, and we'll make it happen. And so the 1,000 people, and we'll be able to hire for that 1,000 people that subscribe 2 veterans that will help have a safe place to work, a solid mentorship, and a paycheck to support themselves, and to get some confidence and actually pick, pack, and ship your coffee. And out of that same warehouse with that same 1,000, which honestly, just with the 150,000 veterans, that's less than 1%. And that's a low target number. So even at a like reasonable target number of 10%, 10,000 people would be great. I mean, we would be able to do so much to help veterans, to help our community. But one of the other things is we're going to start a veteran support group meeting out of that same facility with these same veterans that are transitioning to help have this round circle support group on a weekly basis, to where they can share their feelings, to be safe, to support one another. So yeah, so we're wanting to impact. I always tell people, I want to make a living, but more than anything, my heart's desire is to make a difference. The paycheck is, I mean, I have enough. I mean, I have a roof over my head, food. I'm not buying yachts or trying to go on luxurious vacations. And that's meaningless to me in the end of when I am laid to rest. That will be the legacy my kids and my kids' kids will, my grandkids will know that our life was spent on something that's worth it. I believe that humanity is the greatest resource in this world. I believe investing in people is what we should be doing.
That's good stuff, man.
Like that.
Yeah, absolutely. No, great stuff. It's amazing what you do, and just kind of hearing your story and your mission. That's just good stuff. I like it.
Yeah, well, Jason
Appreciate
Kelloway, Social Grounds Coffee. If you haven't been there yet, you definitely want to check it out. They're in the Springfield area. They make great coffee, and you're also supporting a good cause because they're definitely mission-minded. So, Jason, we appreciate you being on, man. Thanks again.
Thank you very
Thank you,
much.
Jason.
Yeah, thank you guys. I appreciate you.